Bonjour tout le monde, c'est couramment 12h09. À venir dans mon émission aujourd'hui, les annonces communautaires, ce qui se passe aux écoles et aux salles par Maurice Leblanc, les journées nationales, des bonnes fêtes et anniversaires locaux, les fêtes des femmes et des événements alentours, et toutes sortes de bons tunes. Alors, tenez m'écouter ici sur CIFA 104,1 FM, le son du sud-ouest, avec moi, Jay Hubbard, ta Voix'd Par-en-Bas. Aster Ken Saunier, parlez-nous à boire. Hello, Audrey. Hey, everybody. Wow, jumped right up to 10. Cool beans. Mahalo Wayne, comment ça va? Hey Sid, how's it going, man? It's good to have you guys on the lives and on with CIFA 104.1 FM. Tune in if you want to hear some more tunes. I tend to talk about some crazy stuff. Things that interest me, things that interest my friends, theories. I was just reading, for example, there's new evidence. I can't cite it properly because I don't have my phone in front of me. It's actually what's recording right there. So the citation basically is saying, though, that about 12,800 years ago there was a large comet or asteroid impact that would have had a global effect. This has been alluded to by Graham Hancock and Randall Carlston on Joe Rogan Experience. Oh wow, I've been listening to that for, I can't see who's logged in right now. Nonetheless, it's been years that these guys are talking on the Joe Rogan Experience about potential comet impacts. Or that's what they were assuming anyway, was the cause of the end of the Younger Dryas period. Which was the last ice age. There's evidence out there, for example, in Siberia, there's mastodon tusks. And they've been pulling out mastodon tusks by the hundreds or thousands per year. I think tens of thousands per year, ever since Jesus Christ was on Earth. So since 0 BC, AC, AV, whatever, AD. Since that time, 2,000 years ago, they've been pulling out thousands of these tusks from there. Not only that, saber-toothed tigers and mastodons both were animals who resided in temperate regions, very much like our equator would be right now. And these are buried under ice in Siberia. So they've been digging them out of the ice for thousands of years, since Jesus is on Earth. Basically, the Romans started doing that. And it tends to hint at the North Pole, at least, potentially not having been the North Pole at that time. There's some evidence that points to it having been, that the North Pole, just like it's currently doing, it's shifting a little bit. If it does eventually shift, this one's a more apocalyptical approach, but basically saying that the mantle of the Earth is like a solid magnet that's kind of held together. I'm not certain the forces that do that, but this one guy called Chan Thomas, his name is. If you look up the Adam and Eve story by Chan Thomas on Google, you're going to find a guy who in 1963, I believe it was, in 63, he put out what he called the Adam and Eve story. I'm sorry, it was before then. It was classified by the CIA in 1963 and just released in 2016. And this story basically denotes what happens on polar shifts. He had evidence that there were 5 polar shifts that the North Pole had changed. It seems to indicate when you've got a spinning body, there's a centrifugal force, I believe it's called, that enacts upon the spinning body at a 90-degree angle to its rotation. And you can feel this for yourself if you have like a motorcycle that you're driving about highway speed or faster, really. Too slow a speed, it's not going to see it, but say 80 kilometers an hour or greater on a motorcycle, if you try to turn the tire, it doesn't want to turn. It wants to stay. So you have to, if you want to go left, you have to kind of pull it right a little bit. And when it does that, the bike kind of drops left at the same time. And the reverse is true. If you pull as though you were steering left, the bike will drop right a little bit. So it's enacting a force at 90 degrees to the force that's being enacted upon it. So what this guy is saying is when the Earth is spinning this way and the pole shifts, it flips about 90 degrees than what was the poles, the North and South Pole, because they're heavier, full of ice, end up at the equator and they spin around. So this guy is saying when this happens, it happens so instantly that what was the water around the equator will not go and flip with the crust of the Earth, but it will stay at the equator and just completely destroy whatever's in its path. This lasts about a half a day, and they're saying that they say that the Earth spins at about 1,000 miles per hour, which is true enough. So if his theory is true, and it lends credence to it because it was classified and for decades, if his theory is true, then once the pole actually stops stretching away from what we consider the North Pole, was in Canada. Now it's over Siberia because it's moved kilometers in the past decade. If that acceleration continues and actually gets worse, then this guy's theory could be correct, and it'll destroy part of the Earth. The other opinion was that an asteroid hit, looks like in Greenland. That's the part that they've got proof of now. They had initially proof of it in 2015, but it's taken till January 2015 that they discovered it, till November 2018, where they finally said, okay, yeah, one of the 25 largest asteroid impacts ever on Earth was in Greenland about 13,000 years ago, and that triggered a global flood. That's the same flood that they talk about in Adam and Eve, or in Noah's Ark, that the other 500 cultures worldwide speak about, that I've spoken about on this live, on this feed, I guess, for a lack of a better term. Yeah, those floods would have changed life. That's sort of where the Atlantis lore comes into effect, for example. And people, as soon as they hear Atlantis, they go, whoa, yeah, that's BS. I don't want to hear that crap. Just noticing I'm missing about 2 minutes and 20 seconds here, so I'm just going to throw that in there real quick. 220J, click duration. 220, laissez flare, yep, that'll do it. Alright, lock. That does it. Good, thank you. So, as I was saying, the Atlanteans said that in about 2 days, an advanced civilization, just about disappeared. That account is given to us by Plato. Plato had, I believe, great-grandfather called Sauron, maybe farther back in his lineage than that, nonetheless. Sauron? I think Sauron. Nonetheless, 900 years before Sauron's time is when Atlantis is said to have sunk. I'm just going to answer my buddy here. Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Josh. Period. That's not working. So I'm gonna have to type that out. Sorry, guys. And while I'm thinking about it, I gotta shut off the sound from my phone so it doesn't go completely bonkers for you guys. Sorry about that. Okay, so as I was talking about, Sauron's time, 900 years before that, is when Atlantis is said to have sunk. So it turns out that Sauron was about 11,000 years ago, and if you go 900 years before that, it's 11,900. That's right around the date that they're talking about this. I might have my dates a little skewed, actually. Nonetheless, tends to be more and more evidence proving to a global flood cataclysm, and the 500 cultures worldwide that kind of agree with that give it even more credence in my mind. Like, why would every culture on Earth, pretty much, that we have record of, talk about floods if something big hadn't come through? So yeah, that pretty much wipes out the Clovis people, which is a people that pretty much disappeared right off the face of the earth about 13,000 years ago in North America. And that spawned a dogma or a belief system that Clovis first is what it was called. So anything that was found that could have been considered to have been before or older than 13,000 years ago on North America, initially it was thought that it got to be some sort of misinformation, that it can't be correct. So any evidence that they were finding that pointed to civilization older than the Clovis civilization in North America was discounted or discredited instantly. But they're finding more and more information that's tending to lead to the fact that there may have been at least one version of humankind on North America far, far before then. One of the recent discoveries, I think, was Cincinnati. Maybe wrong. Google it though. There's a construction team that found some, I feel like it was femoral bones, femurs, that were split with tools to get at the marrow. So the controversy, or whatever those English guys say, the controversy was that the bones were split by the equipment that they were doing the highway work with. That they found them while they were doing the highway work, and they're like, no, the excavators did the damage, or whatever the equipment was. The thing is, if you had bones that were thousands of years old and you hit it with an excavator, run it over, they'll crack differently than green bones that were freshly killed, basically. And immediately when they made the discovery, they carbon dated it before the Clovis period, and did tests on current or recently deceased elephant bones or green bones. When you break a green bone, by pressure, it makes a spiral fracture. So, and I would assume on old bones, the fractures are different. I can't remember this story completely. I apologize. Hadn't even planned on talking about it. It just kind of walked me into that by looking at the news. So nonetheless, a green bone will fracture differently than an old bone, than a brittle old bone will. It turns out that these fractures in the bone would have had to have been on green bones or newly deceased, recently deceased bones that were split on purpose with tools. So people in North America should not have had that capability greater than 13,000 years ago, according to most science. But Google it, see what you come up with. Don't believe just what I'm saying. Get your own information. If it interests you, definitely do so. So there's that. I'm trying to think of other news and stuff I saw. We got 4 cords of wood stacked this weekend, which is outstanding. A lot of work done. looking stuff over. I'm gonna check out my notes, see what's going on. Wowzers, that's big. Click on that. Go to none. Click on that. Go to this. Good. Just checking stuff out, see what's going on. There's bingo at Club Acadien this week, Wednesday. Just getting notes down when I'm airing certain tidbits of information. By the way, while you're on the lives, if you've got events coming up, especially if it's for like non-profit organizations or fundraisers for people that are ill, pop them on there, let me know, or point me to a direction where I can find out more information, and I'll put it on air for you, see if we can get a whole pile of people to attend. Stairs Jacques Surette avec le sifflet. Guys, excuse me. Ow. Just looking over. Ooh. Well, guys, I might have to cut it short because I'm gonna have to call somebody. Yeah. I guess for now I'm gonna sign off. I got to try to facilitate a meeting with the CAO Argyle, with LMUs. Try to figure out how we're gonna approach getting what, I guess, their council meeting information out to the public, what they want to do. So yeah, I'll look into that a little bit, and I'll perhaps be back later. If not, thanks for tuning in. Much love. Later.